our platforms are designed to be resilient in the face of an unexpected spike. Anyone?
Hey guys, I'm going to move on to the next myth just for time purposes.
Sure.
Myth number 3, local storage is cheaper, easier to manage, and more flexible than shared storage. Neil, you want to take this one?
You want me to take it? Sure. Okay. So you want to go to the answers? So I know a lot of the industry's kind of the push is to go towards local storage because it's cheaper. I know putting your write cache on local storage is probably a lot cheaper as well. And I know customers want their desktops to be as cheap as possible. You might say, why put it on shared storage? Shared storage is expensive. It's probably one of the most expensive part in a VDI implementation. Let's cut cost the best we can. And Nick's smiling here.
Because I see Alex taking pictures of this.
Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of in favor, being part of a storage company, I can't say go to local storage. But what I can say is, what I recommend is maybe a hybrid model. Sure, putting the right cache on local storage, why not? It's transient data. As soon as you reboot the machines, it goes away. But what about the user's data? What about the profile? What about your PV disk technology, which, by the way, I think is really cool stuff. That stuff, if that goes away, if you lose storage, if you lose a local disk, you're going to have a real tough time. And I know a lot of folks go, well, it's just my user's desktops, no big deal. Unfortunately, I think kind of like email and things like that, desktops have become very important to users' productivity, and when they're down, they're completely unproductive, and they really can't do much anymore. Just like email, when it first came out, it was kind of like a nice-to-have kind of thing, where if email's down, okay, big deal. Just get up and walk over to the cube next to you. But as the world's gotten smaller and we rely on email to communicate with all of our offices, it's become very important, just like our desktops. Now you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. So if you had one desktop crash, big deal. Okay, it's a bummer for that one user, but it's really become mission critical now because it's all being served. All the users are, like I said, all eggs in one basket. So, like I said, things like your CIF shares, where the user's profiles are, where their data is, where your PV disk is, where your V disk is. Now your write cache, like I said, why not put it on local storage?
I guess question to ask a customer too when they start going down that path of the cost piece of it is, they say, oh, it's only one desktop. Well, do you want it to be the CEO's desktop the day of earnings that he's announcing the earnings for the company?
Yeah.
And usually gets them thinking and saying, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's look at the architecture and what we should really be doing.
Yeah.
Do you want anything here?
Yeah, this is an epic debate. We could go. Yeah, this is a good bar conversation one. But we don't just do desktops too at Citrix. We have this Zen app product that's done quite well over the years, and people tend to think that applications that are an Epic or an SAP, right, that are run on Zen app is deemed a mission critical workload. So high availability is important. Whereas a desktop, yeah, I get that. We can do it on local storage maybe. You can argue me that all day, sure, okay. But Zen app, it tends to have more importance to do the high availability. And why are we doing virtualization in the first place? Let's just step back for flexibility, right? That's what it's all about. So to eliminate downtime, ease migrations, all this stuff. That's essentially what you're kind of buying with shared storage. So just to make that point. The other thing I'll say about shared storage versus local storage, because we have this argument all day with customers, it's not like a apples to apples comparison when we're talking IOPS, because throughput's our bottleneck now, not capacity. So we do the math. Everyone gets out their calculators. Okay, 1,000 VMs, 15 average IOPS. Okay, bam. So I need this many spindles for my local storage, right? I can do it. And then I need this much for shared storage. Shared storage, you're not taking in. People easily forget that there's cache on board. We can buy flash cache. We can buy NVRAM that's just onboard. It's onboard system cache. That has to be taken into the mathematical equation, right? It's not the same. 10,000 IOPS over here with local storage is not the same as 10,000 with shared storage. So it could be more like, and I've just had this conversation with a big oil company down in Brazil, and we did the math, and based on all their cache, it was more of like half the IOPS with shared storage versus what we had to buy with local storage. And when it's that big, okay, and we get added benefits of HA and flexibility to move things around in vMotion, storage mode. That's pretty sexy.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you touched on an important point, which is scale. There's a lot of management attributes that go to scale. And so if you're working with a customer whose sole responsibility and budget is just around desktop, it might be hard to have a conversation that talks about leveraging your current investments and being able to extend shared storage into your desktop space, right? That's when someone's working in a silo. If you have the luxury to say, look, in your overall infrastructure, you have home directories, you have server virtualization footprint, right? You're going to have to start to bring those hypervisors in here to then also work with my, say, provisioning server services, right? I've got user profiles that I'll consider, right? I'm going to have some needs that are going to leverage shared storage. If you have an investment made in that space, as long as that platform in a cost-effective manner can just be expanded upon to service the desktop workload, then that's a win-win. But again, each use case or customer case is going to be a little bit different based on the roles and responsibilities.
Yep, what they have and what the real business requirements are. Yep. I always ask, is high availability, is that a nice to have, or is that a business requirement? There's a big difference.
I think too, one of the things is the management aspect, which we haven't touched on yet. And when you start having multiple servers that you have to configure, as well as make sure that they're up and manage, each box that an admin has to worry about is extra headache. It's extra maintenance. It's a lot of extra headache. I'm sure a lot of you probably have been sysadmins in the past. I have been, and the more servers that you get on your plate, the more difficult it becomes. The more things go wrong, the more service contracts go up. And when you have shared storage, you have basically one throat to choke. I hate to use that analogy, but basically that's where all your storage lives, and all your tools are in that one area as well. So I don't know if you guys have used the NetApp tools, the GUIs, the CLIs. If you've got a Unix shop that they're totally anti-GUI, we've got the CLI, and they can do everything through there, as well as we've got a lot of friendly GUIs, which will allow you, if you even have multiple storage arrays, to actually administer them all from one area.
You forgot to talk about the virtual storage console.
Oh yeah, that. So we also have, are you guys, show of hands, are you guys familiar with our virtual storage console?
So how about you just describe it real quick? And,
super cool. So it's a plugin that gets installed inside Virtual Center, and it's free. We all love free. So it gets installed inside Virtual Center, and it does things like provisioning, cloning.
Not just Virtual Center.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not just Virtual Center.
Oh, yes, and Zen Server.
Thank you.
Yes, we just released one for Zen Server as well. And it's free as well.
Yeah, so basically we make a plugin to extend into the management frameworks, the native management frameworks, so that you can have a storage admin basically give you pools of resources to consume, put policies around them, and say, look, I'm getting out of the provisioning game. I don't know what you guys do in the desktop space, but here's some disk, here's some cache. Call me when later. And then you, as the infrastructure or the desktop administrator, can pull from those pools on demand, provision your resources, manipulate them as needed, but always comply within the overarching policy of the storage admin, but allows you to address your needs faster and service your workloads faster from this shared storage construct.
So you literally you don't have to leave either Zen Center or Virtual Center.
You don't have to